We're back after a 2 week break. The first week, I can't remember why we couldn't do it. Was it me that couldn't make it 2 weeks ago?
Probably all me.
Oh,
It's always me.
it had to be one of the two of us. There's no one else. And then last week you couldn't make it, so I'm so sorry, human beings, because we haven't been here for 2 weeks, and I know that you've been feeling desperately lonely and isolated from the rest of the world, and we are sorry, and we're going to do our best to make sure that this doesn't happen again until I don't know, next week, perhaps. Who knows? I am Paco Garcia. This is the GMS Magazine podcast, a podcast all about board games, role playing games, and the people who make them. Sometimes the people who play them.
And this is Chris from Deus Ex Machina.
The people who make them.
And a person who makes games and plays them.
Yeah. I know, because I have one. So I can testify for that. So anyway, how are you? Because we haven't spoken for too long.
Like I said, it's for me, as some people know, I am wrapping up one Kickstarter digitally, and hopefully by this month we'll have it finished. I finished my novel. It was 140,000 words.
Not bad at all.
In 3 months.
Wow. Okay, that's
There was one person just like, I finished this novel in 140,000 words in 3 months, and one person was just like, you got to raise your game. You got to be able to polish to read a novel in something like that in a month. And then somebody else who was a friend of mine commented, dude, he wrote the novel in 3 months. He didn't read a novel in 3 months. I read way more than that. But yes. And
I don't read that much because I literally can't. So I don't know. Having somebody say, "Oh, you have to read more than that." Screw you, dude.
Well, that's fine. Like I said, it was a very interesting the last few weeks getting everything done. I'm doing editing. I have a very weird editing process I've developed. I have my book read to me by an automated voice. I don't need the inflection. I don't need a voice actor. I just have it read to me. And if I'm reading my book while it's being read to me, I can pick up way more things. So if anyone who is a self-publisher and is trying to prevent producing product with a lot of errors, instead of in addition to using programs like Grammarly, have it read out to you. Like it's an inbuilt service in Microsoft Word. You don't even have to go to a website and pay for it. Word will literally do it. Like, it's not a believable system, but it's a lot better. You can hear yourself. You can hear it talking, so you don't have to say it. So, and you burn through it really quickly. Like I said, I was going through 2 or 3 chapters, so sometimes as much per day. So I'll have the last 2 chapters finished today. I'll probably have the beta readers reading it by tomorrow. So it's been a very, very busy week, and trying to track what happened the last 2 weeks. I got to 1,000 friends on Facebook finally. I would have been way past this, but I lost like 150 through the COVID years. I was hemorrhaging more than I was gaining, so I slowly gained a good bunch of new nice people, many of which are recent employees of Evil Genius Games.
Yeah, I'm still wondering what on earth is going to go there, and how long until the whole thing collapses. Because when a company hemorrhages people that fast, and for ethical concerns, I think usually it's just a matter of time before somebody speaks up their mind fully and freely and opens a can of worms that it becomes, a Pandora's box. Although, do you know that originally it wasn't a box, it was a jar? It was a vase.
That it's interesting you say that. In one of my scripts that I've been trying to get into a movie, that exact exchange occurs when someone talks about Pandora's box, and then the other person corrects them and says Pandora's box was a jar. It wasn't a box. It was, For those people who don't know, Pandora's box was actually Pandora's jar. But Pandora's box is just easier. For those people who don't know, I'll be a quick catch up. It was BJ Hensley, I think, that was first initially commenting on it. We started seeing a number of people leaving Evil Genius Games. Evil Genius Games who produce Everyday Heroes. They created a Kickstarter about 2 years ago for Everyday Heroes, which was a 5th edition update of D20 Modern. That was co-developed by some of the people who worked on the original book. There were questions about the similarities between it and my Ultramodern 5, and the ultimate difference is, for those people who are curious, is that Ultramodern 5 is universally compatible with 5th edition, where the Everyday Heroes is built off of 5th edition, but is not inherently compatible to D&D without modification. And then Ultramodern 5 deals with vast different tech levels, generally assuming you're doing more of a sci-fi element, and it gives you aspects to that regard. And Everyday Heroes is much more modern day. The Kickstarter came out with 6 modules that were tied to IPs. In, like I said, some of these IPs were they're older ones. Like I can see them not being particularly expensive, but some of them I can't imagine were cheap. And this includes Universal Soldier, Total Recall, Rambo the Crow, Pacific Rim, Kong Skull Island, Highlander, and Escape from New York. I can see Highlander and Rambo, Escape from New York, not being terribly expensive. I can't see Pacific Rim and Kong or Total Recall being cheap. But they had supplements, adventures, basically, for all 6 of these IPs. They raised $395,000 US, and they started releasing their products last year. And then we started seeing some chinks in the armor. And the first one came actually a couple months ago. Well, as it turns out, Evil Genius Games had an agreement with Netflix to release an RPG based on Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, a film which I still have yet to see because I am not that desperate for entertainment. And it was Netflix canceled their arrangement for the Evil Genius Games, citing the fact that they were breaking the NDA in some capacity. And Evil Genius sued Netflix. And on January 25th, that lawsuit was settled. I don't believe it was settled in anyone's, like I said, it was amicably settled, but I don't know whether or not Evil Genius actually got money out of it. I'm going to assume if it's amicably settled, that's just part of me that says I don't think Evil Genius actually got any money out of it.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they had been able to get enough money to pay the people who worked on the game already. At least that would be my hope. Now,
that's funny you should bring that up.
Because?
Because going back, sorry, I interrupted. Go. You finish your statement because I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, but considering that an awful lot of people are citing ethical concerns about how the company is run, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those ethical concerns had been, and this is purely lucubration on my part, okay? I have absolutely zero proof whatsoever. I'm just imagining this, so don't at me if this is wrong. But I wouldn't be surprised if the money that they have got to, compensate for not releasing the Rebel Moon game had not gone to the people or in being spent in the way that the people who were involved considered to be the appropriate way. I'm just inventing that could be the case. It would be one of the reasons that I would call that behavior unethical. But that's just me.
Yeah, I imagine that there might be a connection, considering that a couple of weeks ago we had Faith Elizabeth Lilly, who's a chief product officer. Her and I have a couple conversations since then, and I've been thinking about trying to get her on as an interview, if you're open to that.
Of course I am.
And she is up for it as well. I can't imagine we can talk about the subject at hand, but we can certainly talk about her and her awesomeness. And things went on from there. Mike Brannick, Matt Paps. We are up to 4 people who are not low key. These are several people. Ivis Flanagan, and so forth. Now, the interesting thing, of course, on Morris from Endworld, a person I have a mixed relationship with, has publicly asked for information regarding the issue, and he wants to interview people regarding Evil Genius, clearly for some future article that he's going to write that's going to detail what's going on with Evil Genius. My worry is I have confided with him and he outed me. So I would be very skittish about anybody telling him, confiding information on him, and then asking for anonymity because you may not get it. But there was somebody who commented recently, as in, I think this was yesterday at 10 a.m. Someone under the profile of Raven110 posted this. I'm going to read it out really quickly. I'm the partner of someone who has been a contractor at Evil Genius and resigned in December. Whatever the reason, these current employees are willing to leave without other jobs to support them. That says something. Odds are they have not been fully paid for their work prior to leaving, and leaving seems like a way you definitely don't get paid. My partner submitted invoices for payment at the point of resignation. He had not been paid anything for his work at EGG to date. Over a month since he should have been paid, we have received 1/3 of the money that is due to him. Ironically, we were paid for the later work he did and not the earlier. Dave Scott wants to publicly come out and paint himself as a nice guy, but I am sure he did not stop living his lifestyle while he was asking employees to keep working while not getting paid. Correction, contractors, not employees, because my husband was a contractor, even though he was paid hourly, monthly, and was expected to work 40 hours. I am 100% convinced he did this to avoid employment laws and avoid paying the FICA taxes, which speaks volumes to his character. Also, I appreciate how definitely tried to make it sound earlier in this thread like he was against Web3 technology when 2 months ago his LinkedIn listed EGG had Web3 in the main header and in the description. Personally, I think he wanted to use Web3 and or had investors that wanted to use Web3, but no one in his company would stand for it and slowly left till it became too much for those remaining, and a larger group left. Now he is creating a code of ethics and trying to sound like he wasn't the one trying to make the whole thing. Another thing that makes me question his character. We had generally washed our hands of the negative experience that was EGG, and I thought I would never have to think about it again, but then I heard about all of this chatter and found out Dave was on here trying to make himself look like a rose. We had bills to pay and debt that was expected to be paid off with those funds. Luckily, us having a roof over our head wasn't dependent on that money, and I hope that isn't the case for some of the others that left. Maybe after he pays people for their work they did for him, he can start talking about ethics.
That is quite
Scathing.
a statement, yes. Quite
So
a statement.
what I think that it's a combination. It's not. I think if people think there is one thing, like we've seen companies collapse because of one thing, their views on politics, sexual misconduct. I think what Evil Genius is actually suffering from 2 or 3 things that put weight on the camels, which caused it to break.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a situation where it was a couple of issues, and you and I have talked about this at length, and I've talked about the fact that despite how successful the Everyday Heroes Kickstarter was, I personally think that it was massively underfunded for what they were offering. If I make $395,000 US, which is about $600,000 Canadian, I am laughing to the bank. I take a bunch of that money, I dump it into business savings to generate interest, and then I started using those resources to produce product, artwork, resources, and so forth. Mm-hmm. But I am an employee of one person. I have attempted to bring people on larger investments, but I am brutally honest, and I don't let them invest more time than I think I can afford. And on numerous situations, we've had to part ways because I can't continue to pay them. We have an arrangement, we have a contract, and that contract gets settled. But there's been too many situations where I've wanted to bring in people. I've even talked to some of these people from Everyday Heroes, and we've talked about wishing we could collaborate in the future because they know who I am, because obviously there was conversation because they're creating a non-fantasy D&D book, and I currently still have the most successful non-fantasy D&D book on the market. I've raised Kickstarters that have related to Ultramodern that have raised close to what they have raised, not as much. My sales are higher, and I'm a person that barely survives with one employee, even when my wife is a contractor. So you take that into account. And the 6 IPs, this is a campaign that they needed to make. They needed Humblewood money. They needed $1 million Kickstarters for this to justify that number. And the fact that did not raise that type of revenue, I think is a bit of a concern, because those licenses are not cheap. And I think that I think if someone comes up and says they're not paying people, I can tell you why. I think they are out of funds. And I think that he, the owner, has been looking for investment opportunities. And with millionaires, they're all about, they're not terribly smart, but they look at what's big and go, they jump on it without looking at the ethical concerns. So I think that there was a push and an interest to adapt blockchain technology, NFTs, and eventually artificial intelligence. And this started to break started to really raise ethical concerns. And he realized the costs, and he put out his code of conduct. And he's been trying to paint that his ethical code of conduct is one of the reasons why they left. And as someone said, I have never seen anyone ever leave a company because of a responsible code of conduct. Because no company has ever hemorrhaged employees because they refuse to adopt AI. Never happened.
No, I have a couple of things to say. Firstly, I don't know what the employment laws are in the United States, but to hire somebody as a contractor to avoid paying employment taxes, when you hire somebody here in Spain, the employee, out of their salary, have to pay, and the UK is exactly the same. They have to pay a chunk of money for the taxman and a chunk of money for Social Security. That's why we get, free hospitals, free.
Yeah.
But the companies also have to do that. They have to give a contribution, which is quite high. So, for instance, if I am earning 2,000 euros net, that means that between me and the company, 1,000 euros are going to the taxman and Social Security. One way to avoid this is to hire a contractor who does register as a freelance, as a one-person company, so to speak. And that person, you pay a set fee a month and then a 20% of anything you earn. So the way that they do it is they will tell you, okay, you register, and I am going to pay you 30,000 euros a year. But I am not, because I am contracting somebody who is a contractor, even though it is for the whole duration of a working shift, which is 40 hours a week, 4 weeks a month. I'm not paying the taxes, you are. And that is a way to avoid paying Social Security and the taxman. That is highly illegal. And a company here in Spain that was caught doing that, No Solo Roll, which is probably the second or third biggest RPG company in the country, was fined 30,000 euros because they did that. And after that, the company went down from 12 to 4 employees because they literally could not afford to pay all the taxes.
And I think most RPG companies, which has been there's been a side conversation on this thread on Enroll talking about the need of contractors. And for me, contractors, I think there's two types of there's a contractor you bring on permanently, but you don't want to, as you said, do your responsibility. And I think that I have issues with that. But if I'm paying an artist for an illustration for one of my books, most of the time that we don't, like I said, we're legally protected. We don't have to go through the rigmarole of contracting. And I've only ever needed to have a contract signed for in a handful of situations. Most of them, but all of them have been through smaller projects. Like either it's on a case by case basis. The only person that is permanently contracted to me is my wife. And so we'll leave that arrangement between her and me.
Okay, but is she working for you 5 days a week, 8 hours a day?
Oh no.
Then you're not pretending that she's your employee. You can contract somebody to do.
I think the moment you're spending, like I said, a full time, then you're employed
On a permanent basis. Again, you can hire somebody to do the illustrations for a book. And if they tell you that's going to take me 6 months, then that's it. But they're being hired for a particular project. And they're the one who decide how long it's going to take them. You don't tell them you're only going to work for me and I'm going to keep giving you work You go on a project by project basis. That is the big difference. So that is
Yeah,
why it
and
is
yeah.
persecuted, and people get fined for that all the time.
Yeah, so there are two things to consider when it comes to Canadian law. I think I know, so we're not American, so we can't really judge on that. But Canadian law and American law are very similar, to my knowledge. I don't know how much it differs, but I do know that temp employees are by and large not allowed in Canada. So the contracting in which you talk about is not allowed. There are a couple exceptions. The first is seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
There are periods of time in the summer and the winter months around Christmas where you're allowed to hire people. But the moment it goes over 3 months, you either have to cut them or you have to hire them. And that's why we also have a probationary period in Canada of 3 months with most jobs. So if a job doesn't like you for 3 months, they can let you go. Through that time period, though, you are an employee. Like, you get full coverage. You get, a lot of times, depending on the situation, you'll get medical coverage. Sometimes you'll get dental. But the point is that you are contributing to retirement. You're contributing to taxes. You're all that. It's all square. And in some situations, the advantage of a seasonal is that you're not fired. You don't quit. You are laid off from work shortage, and that's a very specific language because it allows you to apply for employment insurance and get additional income. This is how I able to became a full-time writer, was because I was leaving my job. I did not like it. I was emotionally getting drained. I got hired on to be a seasonal manager of a place called Calendar Club, which only operates stores semi-permanently. And I ran that store for 3 months. Come the end of January, I was actually a bit more, but I was laid off. I then got EI, and I was able to live off of EI for 4 or 5 months until I got my first Kickstarter launched. And my Kickstarter launched basically the moment EI ended. I launched my Kickstarter. And that is something that is illegally protected in Canada. So for me, like I said, the moment Nicole has to come on board, we've talked about whether or not, if one of my Kickstarters exploded and I made Everyday Heroes money, I made 400,000, and suddenly I would probably ask, okay, honey, I need you to leave your day job. I need, and be a full-time bookkeeper, which is what you want to do, and do my bookkeeping. And then you would be a permanent employee. And it's a little bit like shaving money, but in the same context, it allows her legal protection because we have to get medical, because right now our medical coverage is through her work. And the moment she leaves that, we have to then get medical coverage for us because it's legally binding in Canada. So for me, contracting is on a case-by-case basis. Like Nick Greenwood, for example, who I have worked with for over 16 years, has always been a contractor. And that's because he does his work for me on an illustration by illustration basis, but also it's on his timetable and on his terms, which is the reason why some of my projects get delayed a year, because I have to wait for him.
Exactly. And he will also have other projects. So you are not his sole contractor. So
yeah.
So anyway, we are deviating from the topic.
But I think that's part of the situation. I think it's a combination of ethics regarding their high tech, their belief of technology, and I think there's absolutely a money issue. And for me, I'm definitely on the bike. That's like, if someone's not paying me, that's one thing. People love working for me. I hate to say this. I get emails from artists that I've worked with, and it's like, here's the bill, and then I send them, okay, I sent you the money, and they come back like, wow, that was fast. I'm like, really? I was like 3 days late. And he's like, no, dude, you're one of the few people that pays on time. But yeah, so more is going to come out with Everyday Heroes. But if you think that this is about their ethical view on AI, I think there's a lot more to this.
I think that, to be honest with you, that was too convenient, and that sounds like a red herring. I think that's a means to distract people from the real issue.
And I think Everyday Heroes is out of money. I think Everyday Heroes is nearly broke.
It could very well be the case. It could very well be the case. But we'll see. We will see. Other than that, I don't. Do we have any more news or kind of things like that to talk about? Because I don't think I have anything else. Do we?
A couple tangential ones. One, I wanted to follow up something we said a couple, almost a month ago, when the Nemesis Kickstarter popped up on GameFound, and we were making bets on how much it would raise, and I thought it would be a less successful campaign than their first. Boy, was I wrong.
How much did we say? How much did I can't remember. How much did I say?
I said I thought it wouldn't make more than 2 or 3 million.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were about 3 or 4.
Yeah.
$12.1 million. It is probably, I think it's the most successful campaign. It made more money than the first Nemesis. Now this is 12 million euros, I think, which is still just
about
insane.
$10 million, give or take.
Yeah, so it's just crazy. So I wanted to throw that out there because I'm like, what the hell? So that is all I had for news. I have an unboxing in here, but why don't you talk next?
Well, I have to say congratulations for getting 12 million euros. I wish every single project out there did as much money, and I know that's impossible, but I really am very happy when people are successful. So as far as I'm concerned, that's very good news, and I hope the game comes out. It's beautiful and people enjoy it immensely.
Unlike some other companies, like what happened with Mythic in the last few weeks.
Yes.
Because Mythic is the opposite of the spectrum. I think Mythic is done.
Probably. I think was it Come On that got the rights?
I do believe yes, but the point is, I think ultimately comes down to we have at least 3 campaigns now. I think that they're not going to deliver on.
Yeah, I don't think they are going to. I don't think they're going to survive this. I think Come On is going to use their might and their, the prowess to be able to finish the project and then take the IPs and create more stuff later on to recoup the money. Come On has been able to make an awful lot of incredibly successful campaigns. They are very professional. They are very good at what they do. No matter whatever it is you think about their games, the fact is that they know what they're doing and they know how to be successful. So I am going to wish them the best, and I'm going to hope that everybody who backed up, backed one of Mythic's projects eventually get what they paid for.
Yeah, Darkest Dungeon. There was an article that was posted on Wargamer, and this was 2 weeks ago, where Mythic Games co-founder claims that far from getting rich off the company, its ill-fated board game crowdfunders, the higher-ups, are not working without pay. There's a whole lot going on, but like I said, I do believe there are 3 campaigns that will not fully deliver. Crowdfunding titles Six Siege and Darkest Dungeon, which raised 1.5 and 5.6 million, respectively, in their initial campaigns. Last week, the company announced it was selling the IPs for Anastyr and Hell to Simon, so that the Zombicide creator could finish the game, which led to further anger from customers who felt cheated by Mythic. So I believe that there could be 3 or 4 campaigns. And this gives you an example of the issues. Once again, you could make, like I said, I know for a fact, and I won't say the name of the company. One of my close friends who ran $1 million or $2 million campaigns has said that the first campaign did not make any money. Again, it shows you how much money gets eaten up by all other aspects. And when you have full-time employees, you have to take into account paying them,
Yeah.
Another reason why I think Everyday Heroes is basically done. Because if Mythic can't make $5 million campaign work, like what hope is there, right?
That's very true. Okay, so we have half an hour left, and I have one review of a game that I have released a video recently, but I want to talk about it because I'm finding it a very interesting exercise, this game, and it is the Walking Dead universe starter set from Free League. Now, Walking Dead, I think, at the very least, everyone knows what it's all about. And everybody, to some degree, knows at least 1 or 2 of the characters and has an idea. It's a series that's been going on for so long that it's really permeated pop culture and everybody knows what's about. So it was a very safe bet for Free League to create the Walking Dead universe. And in fact, they were very successful when they did the Kickstarter.
Yeah, a very natural format for an RPG.
Correct. And the thing is that Free League has done some incredible, absolutely incredible IP conversions with Alien and Blade Runner. And Viacom is an absolute...
they are doing very well.
They have not fucked up yet in pretty much any way, shape, or form, even though I have been critical of a couple of aspects of things like Viacom, but it's one of my favorite games ever. And the Year Zero engine is my favorite system right now, and is completely gone away with BRP and D20. I love it. So my surprise with this, when I opened the box, is that compared with the starter set of Blade Runner, which is the other starter set I have to go by from Free League, this one is slim.
Okay.
Very slim.
I don't have the Blade Runner one. I do have the Alien one.
I don't know what the Alien one is like, but the Blade Runner one is delightful. Delightful. As well as having the books, although they fell apart, but that's neither here and there because I am not particularly gentle. But the dice are absolutely gorgeous. All the handouts are just perfect. The adventure is beautiful, is emotional, is on point. The NPCs are fantastic. The player characters, the pre-gens are just gorgeous. I could dribble about that game for months. I love Blade Runner so effing much. This one, though, you have a 64 pages of rules and a 32 pages, if that, adventure with two sets of dice, black and red, and a few pre-gens, 4 pre-gens and a few more NPCs, and 4 maps. So, all things considered, the production of this is a lot slimmer.
Yeah.
I found a few things regarding the production. The dice are beautiful. They're just D6s, very well made, engraved. The icons are engraved, which is very good. And plenty of dice to play all players. You have to share the dice, but, so be it. This time, the adventures and the rulebook are stapled. They're not perfect bound. That is a good thing. Okay, because I know that I can open those books 30,000 times and the pages will not fall off.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. The maps, there are 3 location maps and 2 overall area maps. The area maps are gorgeous. So cool. They're proper cartography, topography maps. Gorgeous. Love them. The other ones, they're beautiful. The 3 ones are beautiful. However, the one thing I found interesting about this is that those maps are a lot more pictorial. They're more kind of painting. But they do feel like they've been done using icon sets. Because if you look at the stones...
Oh, icon sets. Okay.
Yeah, the stones or the trees, you can see that they are brushes that have been placed here and there because they're identical. They've moved them around to make it look like they aren't. And to be honest, I only know because I am very picky and I look for these things. So I was a little bit surprised about that. Did it bother me? Well, not particularly, because I am very permissive about these things. And also because, to be honest, it kind of works with the overall feel of The Walking Dead. This is meant to be a game about struggle, survival, making up with bare minimum of anything. So for me, the production to go in brackets down is thematically very fitting. It makes sense. I don't know how much the set costs because Free League was very kind and sent me the copy for review. So I don't know how much it costs, but I felt, this is the fact that it's in brackets NAF it fits the theme of the game. With the rules, again, they've been able to adapt the game masterfully to make it really lethal. This is not like Forbidden Lands or even Blade Runner or Alien, where you have to suffer an awful lot of wounds before your character completely dies.
Right.
Here, you have 3 points of damage, and that's it. After that, you suffer a critical wound and you can die. But before that, every time you have an encounter with a zombie, you have to roll in a table, and there are a number. You roll for the year zero engine, you roll 2d6s, and that's a d66.
Right.
So out of that table, there are a number of possibilities for you to get bitten by a zombie.
Right.
And even to get killed by your own weapon. It is that lethal. The good thing about that, again, it is very fitting to the theme of the series. And I stress this is based on the series, is canon. In fact, the game tells you that this is based around season 5.
Oh, okay.
So you encounter the same locations, you encounter the same bodies, and you encounter the same feel of isolation, and you play with some of the series' main actors and actresses like Carol and Glenn. And what's the name of the priest? I can't remember now. So that's how the game plays. It is really lethal. On the one hand, it's very good, but on the other hand, the problem is that as it happened to us, about 15 minutes into the game, one of the characters died. And because there are no character creation rules in the starter set.
Oh, you don't know, you can't, that's it.
Correct. You either have to take, you have to use your imagination and create a new character, or use an NPC as APC, which kind of leaves you a little bit wonky, because what are you going to do when you actually find this NPC that you have to fight? That is a bit tricky. It is inherent to the game itself. So from the one on the one hand, I do love how once again they've managed to capture the spirit of the series. On the other hand, the game is so ridiculously lethal that getting fond of the character feels pointless.
Yeah.
Because they can die anytime. So why invest in yourself emotionally in all the hardship, all the stress, all the consequences of what happens when your character loses drive or when they lose an anchor, if they can get bitten by a zombie and die in 1d6 hours very easily. So that is the only thing that I reckon, in order to make the game a recurring game, for me at least, I would have to tone that down, because I do like character development. I'm not very keen on these games where you have to be changing characters all the time. Even when I play Call of Cthulhu, I make sure, or Vincent even, I make sure that characters somehow can survive long enough for you to be able to develop them. And even if they are going to die or become, wasted eventually, you can drive the character in that direction little by little. But a game in which a character is going to die pretty much in every single session, that hurts. That hurts an awful lot.
Yeah, that's like I said. Unfortunately, you sold me out of it because, well, it's not difficult for me to not be interested. Purely because I'm not a fan of the nihilistic storytelling indicative of the show itself and the book. The idea that anybody can die at any point in time, don't get attached to anybody. I lost interest in the show. I was more than a few years ago. I'm not interested in the franchise. I just generally, I just can't have. It's a little. I want my adventures to be, as you said, to be about character development. And people think, and people have criticized me. Not very many, but one or two people have criticized me for the lack of player death in my stories. And I consider it a stake of honor. I love the fact that I have a loyal group of players. I had a loyal group of players for 20 years. I came to my sessions wanting to enjoy the story without having to know that at any point in time that their characters can be permakilled. I've done zombie apocalypse adventures. I've done one. It's very similar to Left 4 Dead. It's based off of Left 4 Dead, even to the fact that there are more characters offered. So if your character dies, you can go, hey, my God, there's a guy in this room locked up, and you rescue this person, and this person gets introduced very quickly. So, like I said, if someone gave me Left 4 Dead, hey, it's like if you want to do a Left 4 Dead RPG, I would be like, I'm not interested because I am not the right guy. I cannot write. I mean, if someone paid me to do it, I would be happy to do it. But I'm not a person that would be terribly interested in writing a Left 4 Dead RPG because I'm not interested in the source material at all.
The thing, though, which is what surprises me, is that the game, even the starter set, the core rulebook, of which I've read about 3/4 now, does an even better job of this. And I want to get to the solo rules. I haven't got there yet, but I will. But even the starter set places a huge emphasis on character development, which is the interesting bit. You know, every rule about stress, anchoring, being overwhelmed, all of that, it's kind of very conducive to creating very holistic, very wholesome characters, which I really like. But then the fact that with just one bad die roll, all you do can be undone in seconds and the character can go away. It's a bit, that hurts. That hurts. If you are a friend of the series, if you're a fan, then you're gonna love the game. Seriously, you're absolutely gonna fucking love this game.
Yeah, but in many ways, this is the Daryl Dixon thing. So Norman Reedus plays Daryl Dixon, and he became the most popular character in that entire show, to the point where, and right up there with Grimes, he was one that people believed was untouchable, and it was true. He never died, and the reason why he never died is that, like, even though they were like, oh, you never get concerned, anybody can go at any time. The same thing with Game of Thrones. You never know who's gonna die, and I'm like, you absolutely know who's gonna die. Well, I don't know who's gonna die, but I can tell you who's never gonna die.
Correct.
You know, like Tyrion Lannister is never going to die because his character is too popular, right? So it's one of those situations where you could make a story where supplementary characters are dropping like flies. I ran an Alien game, Alien Prey for the Prey. It's been on my homebrew site since the mid '90s, and which people still talk about today, which I love. And I had a core group of 4 players, but there were 25 Marines that were part of their unit, about 12, 13, maybe 20 Marines. And in the first session, I had my player characters sit down with them, and they had to hire them. They chose their team, right? So they picked their team. So I gave them a dossier of about 40 people that I created, NPC portfolios, their strengths, their character abilities, their name, the picture of them. And I did the whole thing. And then for a full session, it was just them assembling their team. They were asking me questions in rollout, answering them. And so they built this team. And so every one of them had a personality. And I didn't start killing. I killed one of them off in the second episode. I didn't kill any of them off for another 8 months. And then the last session of the first season, we ran this game for about 2 seasons, I killed off 4 more. And seeing the reaction on my players, where I started to knock off some of the NPCs, they were mortified and they were legitimately upset. And I'm like, guess what, folks? I'm cranking up, and that was the thing. I took the screws off and said, now it's basically up in the air. And so they were desperately trying to keep these NPCs alive because NPC survival has never been a high priority to PCs. So there's ways to create that mortal dread without killing off player characters and having them have to restart being emotionally attached to somebody new.
Yes. So anyway, that's my review of Walking Dead. An absolutely fantastic game. It really captures the Walking Dead universe very, very well indeed. But you are going to have to, if you are not okay with losing characters all the time, you're going to have to tone down a little bit the lethality of the game and be prepared to believe in an incredibly dangerous and lethal world. So that's my review. So what are you going to say about Subterra 2 with your 15 minutes left?
Well, I think personally, I'm going to leave this for next week.
Okay.
So, because we don't go off topic, because I have some thoughts. But as a quick preview, I will say that Subterra 2, this, like I said, for those people who don't know, this is the Kickstarter rewards. They did actually end up delivering. Not, of course, not this company, not ITB. They're done. They're gone. But the company that picked them up. Mm-hmm. They are the ones that picked it up. I am not, and I'm going to make the statement, because if you go to Subterra's BGE page, they have entries for this one, and this one. There is actually only, like, and the first thing I'll complain, which one do you think is the core book and which one do you think is the expansion?
Okay, I'm going to say that the core book is the one on the right.
You think this is the core book?
Yes.
No, it's this one.
Okay.
This is the core book. This is the second one, and this is the third one. This, yeah, that's, I kid you not. And this is the core book, and these are the two sequels.
The reason I said the reason I said the one to the right is because it's the one with the red letters, and I thought that any expansion would have a different kind of lettering color to keep consistency.
These are a little different. This is a bit more orange. This is a bit more yellow. But this, you're right, is beet red. But this is the expansion. And then these are not matched up, because that's supposed to go over there. No, these are matched up. Okay, good. So these are the deluxe minis that replace all the wooden stuff in here. And then this here comes with it, which is a new expansion for Subterra. I will say as a preview that this game is not as good as Subterra, but we'll leave that for next week.
Okay,
because I wanted to open up this.
You have a big box in there. Yes. What is it?
I have a box. I have not. I've cut it, but I have not seen what is in this box.
Okay.
And
I'm going. Let's do a little bit of audio description for the people who are going to be listening to the podcast rather than watching this. So you have a box.
It's gonna be like ASMR. I'm gonna just ruffling all the popcorn packing.
Okay. I can hear nothing.
This is all the. Oh. So yes, this box. But I have confirmed that this is not like Kleenex boxes from Amazon. This is a game delivery. I'm not wasting people's time. It's not like when they opened up what's his name's tomb and there was nothing in it. So yeah, tons of packing paper, so much so that I'm gonna actually have to put this aside. Okay. And there is I know what this is as I'm scooping out. And is there anything else in here? No, that's it. It's just a lot of packing peanuts. I'm not a big fan of the packing peanuts because of it.
They're quite messy, aren't they?
It's 1 to 4.
Ooh, you're making an effort in there. Is it because the box is very tightly packed or because it's very heavy?
It is not light. There is nothing, no bonuses. This is.
Now,
okay,
the
ready?
Box come out of the box, if that makes any sense, and it is beautiful, but I cannot read what it is. Oh, that looks gorgeous. Oh, the 7th Citadel. Wow, yes, what is that? Folks.
Okay, so 7th Citadel. This is the sequel to 7th Continent.
Oh.
Or sorry, I want to say sequel. This is a sidequel. This is a reboot of the original, one of the most popular games of the year it came out. 7th Continent, original design by Ludovic Rowdy and Bruno Sudar, artwork by Ludovic Rowdy, 1 to 4 players, 14 and up, by Sirius Pulp. This is, I didn't realize there was no name on it, but there it is, 7th Citadel, explore, build, you are the hero.
I have to say though, that cover is absolutely gorgeous. Really, really beautiful.
Yeah, so the people who do get to see it, but yes. Serious pulp, very Cthulhu-esque. I don't know. Did you ever play 7th Continent? I know Tom Bassel called it one of his favorite games of all time, and it got a lot of attention when it came out. A lot of people were talking about it. However, since then, there have been some people who have, I guess I wouldn't say complained per se, but have criticized what they felt was a brutal difficulty in the fact that it's not a game that you play and then lose. It's a game you play over and over and over. It's one of those. It's not a legacy campaign, but it's kind of a campaign game where you're playing it and you're continuing the story. But it's not a game, to my knowledge, that you restart per se. But you could play it for 4 sessions and then lose, and then realize that you have to start over. Okay. It's a game that's very groundbreaking because of the number of titles that have imitated it. Good example, obviously, recently, Painted Grail and Stars of Ikarios are both games that have copied the Seventh Continent formula. So if you play Tainted Grail or Stars of Ikarios, both those games include mechanics that are similar to Seventh Continent. So story is that Seventh Citadel is a slightly easier, more story-based campaign. So it's not as brutally punishing as its prequels. We're going to find that out, of course, because I haven't opened it. I won't be opening it now because it'll take too much time. But that is what I got. It took, I think, 2.5 years to deliver this, because Serious Poop, they did not lie about it either. When the campaign ran, when they had their delivery time of 2.5 years, I was just like, but at least they were honest. And I think it still took them a while to get it, but the end results, there it is.
Well, I hope it plays as good as it looks.
Yeah, here's the thing I find interesting. You know what's even more interesting about how plain the front cover is? Mm-hmm. Those people who are hearing, the front cover doesn't have the name on it. It just has this reverse kind of image that is Cthulhu inspired. The actual name of the game, Seventh Citadel, is on the side. It gives you there's nothing else in the front. There's no name. It's just the image. And you see Seventh Citadel on the side. But even more is the complete lack of anything on the back of the box either. The back of the box just tells you everything I just said is everything that's on the back. There are no pictures. There is nothing else. It's just how many players, the age count, and all the legal stuff they have to print on the back. There is no advertising. There is no promotion.
No explanation what the game is about. It's completely blank.
Doesn't tell you anything about what they don't need to, because it's Seventh Continent. Because remember, when Serious Pulp is up there with a company, I can't remember what the other company is, but they do not sell their products in store. I can't remember the other company, but they never. Everything is, you can only buy it off of their own storefront. So there's no need to ever produce a retail copy. So there's no reason to put anything like that on the back of the box. So because unless a company kind of finds a way, there's technically no way to buy these titles on retail. I've never seen Seventh Continent for sale on a retail shelf ever. You can only buy it from Serious Pulp's website. So that's the reason that it looks as plain as it is.
Well, I very much look forward to you saying, reviewing what it plays like, because it looks, the box looks absolutely gorgeous. That simplicity is just fantastic. It's the kind of cover that I would look at for hours and hours and hours. So yeah.
Yeah, this is a mantle. It's going to go on a mantle. But yeah, by the way, it is. I would say this is probably 10 or 15 pounds.
Wow.
Maybe, yeah, at least 10 pounds.
And that is it. You didn't bag any expansions or any add-ons or anything?
No, they don't do expansions, because this is entirely card-based. So this thing weighs as much as it does without, like, this is not a mini-based game. This is entirely a card-based game. So I think there are 700 tiles in here. I think, but it's a lot.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a lot. I don't know how many. I'm probably way off.
Well, I look forward to your review. I think that should be fun, and I'm intrigued about Subterra too, and see what that is like. So I look forward to recording next week and finding out what
there'll be. So about that, I think that we should structure some of our reviews being self-contained, so that we could take that video, take that snippet, cut it out,
Okay.
post it as a separate video, and then we can post those on BGG so people know about our conversations.
That sounds like a good plan to me. Definitely. Good. In that case, that's something that we need to try and format for next week, which would be really good fun. But for now, we should say goodbye to our humans who've been very diligently listening to us, which would be good. Let's see where this evil genius thing goes. It will be interesting to find out. I really hope that everyone involved is actually getting out with their wallets intact or fuller, because they get paid or whatever. We'll see how it goes. But for now, people, let us know what you think. Find us. I am still on Twitter. I am at GMS Magazine, and I am on Blue Sky. And now the Blue Sky is open completely for everyone. I have no idea what to do with my 5 promotional codes. I am going to leave them there as a memento of what it was like to be in that platform as an exclusive kind of by invitation sort of thing. But you can also email us, podcast@gmsmagazine.com. We welcome guests. So if you want to be part of the show and come here and talk to us about your game or your project, please let us know. Facebook, GMS Magazine as well. So there you go. I think I've said enough.
And it's Chris from Deus Ex Machina. Find me at Deus Ex Machina on all social medias except Blue Sky. Well, I'm going to be joining up on there probably now. By the way, when I said it, I think, how many cards did I say I thought it had?
I think several hundred.
No, sorry, it's 1,250.
Fuck me. Way to end this show.